Nice.
Welcome to the epitome of luxury living, White Wall Properties. We are a Ghanaian-owned real estate company that develops comfortable apartments and townhouses for residential and investment purposes. At White Wall Properties, our vision is clear: to be Ghana's preferred real estate developer. We are driven by a passion to deliver consistent quality in our product and customer service. Our commitment to excellence is unwavering, and our team's dedication to providing an outstanding experience sets us apart. For over a decade, Whitewall has been at the forefront of Ghana's real estate industry, creating spaces that are not only comfortable, functional and located in the heart of Accra, but also stylish and luxurious. Each of our prestigious developments reflects our core values of quality, reliability and customer satisfaction. Choosing Whitewall Properties means choosing a partner who understands your needs and exceeds your expectations. We are proud to contribute to Ghana's real estate landscape, offering homes and investment opportunities that are second to none. We invite you to explore our projects and discover the Whitewall difference. Contact us today to learn more about our development and how we can help you find your perfect home. Visit whitewallproperties.com or call us. Whitewall Properties. Discover true comfort.
After successfully redefining Accra's skyline with the delivery of the signature apartment, Cape May Properties presents an exclusive unveiling of the tallest residential building in Ghana, offering a first look of Sultan Sky. Sultan Sky, a magnificent representation of the seamless fusion of quality, groundbreaking innovation, and pioneering architectural brilliance. An extraordinary structure set to reshape the concept of upscale living, thanks to its inventive attributes and unparalleled commitment to precision. This master-planned residential development will focus on the building's location, security, privacy, the design's aesthetic brilliance, elevated features in each living space, cutting-edge smart home technology, and amenities beyond imagination, with fantastic residential features which include 24-hour concierge service, a state-of-the-art fitness center, a floating tennis court, a floating swimming pool, a spa, a sky pool, a sky lounge, a movie theater, co-working spaces, kids zone, distinctive lifts for staff and deliveries, private gardens, chef's kitchen, expansive terraces, entertainment rooms, restaurant, and 24-hour security. Sultan Sky, a new perspective in the sky.
Hello, this is Lawyer Wisdom of Wismart Solicitors. Join me this and every Friday on OT TV from 8 to 9 p.m. for all your UK immigration matters. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Joe, baby, I will be a mawakwaba edo eba ene jumedie so. Thursday for and so aba biemu yasan ehyiemu na jumedie ba kope time Taptap Send ena mede ebro mini ene nana kwame osai tutu na nyame encha de ene yenya a very wonderful speaker, onye stranger on this show. Obaso pen na ene nyame ayadum yensa akano ene no betwetwe enkomo na obi ehwe the topic of this for discussion ene obusa me say na o kan foundation be George Bush Foundation anase ene foundation kwa ye ka ho asem no ene nyame aye adom yensa aka ye wonderful speaker ye no ebetwetwe enkomo on the topic for today. But before that, mamenfa aseda kese emfa emma eye Taptap Send is and say one more in egita yemu emma yetimi edi dwumadie ebro every Thursday bia. It is a nei mitimi ebetna hanomo edi dwumadie ne brewa na eye Taptap Send adaroma ene emma mitimi edi dwumadie ebrewo. And inti se won download the Taptap Send bomodin akọ App Store, Play Store. Download Taptap Send nanam so timi fa osika ekoma ebusuafo ewo Africa ene kra de ubetimi use Taptap Send dey send sika akọ Europe straight to their bank account. Unya problem bia meka Germany, Belgium, Austria, Netherlands, Italy, any incro aka eka ho a say abre amene o ka say dey ubetimi use Taptap. So cross border payment no adwuma pa NJBA near Aka Eka. Very soon we're going to introduce a new Visa card. Customers will be able to use this Visa card for all their banking transactions. JP Morgan for Hano because they say HCM. You're quite and it's Bomodian say on download the Taptap Send. Download Taptap Send today and you'll be happy say over join the Taptap Send family. No, but I mean call a year Kofi Frimpong ehonomo na menhwe update a ehonomo ede emma yen nyina na afi ya toaso ede enkomotwetwe no atoaso yo Kofi Frimpong mema ajo ene anwumre emo akwaba ede obadwumadi so
na kwame pacho otemenka
mete onka pa Kofi
nyame nhyira na onhyira yahwefo ne abusuafo ne Mr Producer say na de one touch me kaya na dem entino Memobia, a very good evening. And you may so yeah, what Taptap Send na ya chia will be biara or kaya home and my Taptap Send uniwa Taptap Send in the ho and you may a very good evening. Nana by way of update, the air penny and say Taptap Send is back. Taptap Send is back. A man for Besha who is a rating I no home be a hobby. But a buy and air tries will be making intervention in the currency to stabilize the Ghanaian economy. Ebeboa Ghana intino or for say who will be yenene. Ma adwen you say ebedane amasikano asa akosro and then it ye enyansi enti pacho o call you so na say obetimi plans to send money back home pacho yenene ye Taptap Send is back and this is the app that you know intino you be encourage say obia who use Taptap Send no emre na nie haya na abetin sem passe say emre na nie say send it sikano because with this is no mahu bibi or commenting this is no kind news Bank of Ghana was straight said they are going to intervene in the FX market. Otia said they are going to intervene and you have seen said the rates are dropping. Definitely means they have intervened. And, who will be BR? And it's the job of the government to make sure we have a better CD. And, they are also doing their work. But Boga there, Nani home, but me can't Boga says, so when you are trying to obu fu more, and will be BR, Now, so just let all your family members know, say Taptap Send is back and we are more active than ever. Obia than ever. We still be say on country adofo no mo na mama brand no ayekese enti munko so na mama afoforo hu se ya back na ye hwe manim sem be mamunuanum nyina ba so far ye ba ye nyame adom ye hu se loyalty no wo ho but obi won ma won tie enti no ye besre se na kwa me flyer na wo de to group nim no ubetuma share wo WhatsApp status amaya ye ma ye to Facebook ye say so de wiase nyina ko di TikTok se TikTok so a ye besre se fato so ma ye because in the coming days, in the coming weeks, promotions are hold one because loyalty we know another thing into promotions be brave but all that we are asking from our lovely customers, our lovely family members, they say share our flyers for us to show people say Taptap Send is back and we are back and active.
If you Taptap Send is back Then customers enhwe mu more Emma customers ever since Taptap Send call customers nyamre atwen more today more edema customers
near me to my cancer or Nepa Bibri at the back customers. When him say show so dear, promotion desk, Ninya a bar. They will unveil a lot of promos. And promos in the baby before see a baby brunya chedia. Just stay tuned. Try as much as possible to be glued to the app and also to be glued to the OT media space, Announcement be at official Taptap Send handles app name and I say OT media. Ebema information be at Tina. They meet my send the public any of them your customers.
Yehun se mode anoma game bi ebaye na mo aba fully the bed game no besa koswa o ana se mu be ye free so.
Also kan ya na me de me sa ko be phone anim. Me ya na me type price anoma na da ho me ko boy bi pra ebeda so a anoma no de ebeda so a odofo da bia obi o phone na no wakofom kakra egg ne da ho just hatch it. Oh, hachia, and a dash on an app. I'm with me screenshot. Actually, now there are 2 pages. So, or say you have won €1. You see our call is just go on the app, hatch the egg. You see, I'm a call you mania €1. We should be mania £1, €1, $1. And try as much as possible. Say, Obekoso. I no man the obed dash will there be our better to for and then opina and ya Chinabanoato. Yakuko, a portrait of Ankasa. There be our throat.
Yo, Kofi, you ever ask me brave near Ode Abre customers. Nyame Dumna say ubia any question bia. So be a question bia meet me up for nipa bako na wabusa ora Kofi Frimpong question. So be any question there any major Kofi Frimpong hanmo na nyame duma mrepemu no yebesan eno atwetwen komo dwumadi so Kofi yeda sepa say
and I mention that was say week in week out my opportunity to talk with our customers. Yeah, that's it. Say every time be an all day effort, any energy, shame to bring us wonderful speakers. And yeah, mami on the Bekasana. We are keen to learn so much because Anopan be or say building on good foundation. Or say, hey, then no cement and I say you're very keen to know the foundation, which is very good. Yeah, mommy, yeah, more about time with Taptap Send show. So, and we are eager to learn more from you, ma Phyllis. And that's it.
Yo, abusia for me dane me ho na mafan krato ba ku mi no atwamu. Eno na chi no me ba me speaker for the evening. Ebetwe enkomo on the team building on good foundations, discovering the pillars that support a well-lived life. Eno enkomo ena ye ba betwe. Eni ntimi se wa fre wonu bia danfo bi no so emekan ho ena nwumre ewo dwumadie so. Me dane me ho abasisia.
After successfully redefining Accra's skyline with the delivery of the signature apartments, Cape May Properties presents an exclusive unveiling of the tallest residential building in Ghana, offering a first look of Sultan Sky. Sultan Sky, a magnificent representation of the seamless fusion of quality, groundbreaking innovation, and pioneering architectural brilliance. An extraordinary structure set to reshape the concept of upscale living. Thanks to its inventive attributes and unparalleled commitment to precision. This master-planned residential development will focus on the building's location, security, privacy, the design's aesthetic brilliance, elevated features in each living space, cutting-edge smart home technology, and amenities beyond imagination, with fantastic residential features which include 24-hour concierge service, a state-of-the-art fitness center, a floating tennis court, a floating swimming pool, a spa, a sky pool, a sky lounge, a movie theater, co-working spaces, kids zone, distinctive lifts for staff and deliveries, private gardens, chef's kitchen, expansive terraces, entertainment rooms, restaurant, and 24-hour security. Selton Sky, a new perspective in the sky.
Hello, this is Lawyer Wisdom of Wismart Solicitors. Join me this and every Friday on OT TV from 8 to 9 p.m. for all your UK immigration matters. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Yo, abusiafo medam wase se munya ebre etwen ema yekofa enkrato yi ebaye. Yo, se de munyina munim no enne nia yedi hu enkomo na se topic aye ka ho asem no or say building on good foundations, discovering the pillars that support a well-lived life. Na ye mami ye nuaba ya damfo ye bibia ye ne no eba betwetwe enkomo enne anwumre yi eye Mrs. Phyllis Kodi Asiama-Bekoe. Ye mami ye nuen yadamfu yi eye ubia or a senior executive when it comes to financial services. And yet UK globally or a juma with one of the multinational organizations when it comes to financial services. She is a chartered coach, youth leader, worship leader, and a speaker. And I present to you Mrs. Phyllis Kodi Asiama-Bekoe. Marvelous. A very good evening all and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here again.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. I know very well, said we are very busy. Pa na ene nyame aye adom yensa account ewo show you so nyame enhira obebre.
I'm trying na.
Yo. Said the American, in fact, ban financial services why a Juma our industry move for so many years. But any and shed on financial services who as a life coach. Your far topic we will be so we author watch your book and the title of your book don't start from the scratch foundations non-negotiables for building and living a full and integrated life. And I share ya ni SEO. And yen topic in so the ene ubugi eben pa intino yen train emra na yene train and komo kakra ene enyumre. So mebusa se na ubuki kra wo chro ye no. Edien and I inspire wo ema wo de chro sa buki.
Wow, that's $1 million question. But so what kind of book now? Again, pardon me, I'll be mixing all the languages.
That is fine. I understand that.
But I think that one of the main things for me is these tools and tips for living a good life. No, we know, I'm sure we can all identify people we think have that in their lives. And I don't see the reason why everybody shouldn't have access to them, right? So that was one of my thought process growing up. And yet, it wasn't, in the last few years. But then secondly, I've been working with young people for a very long time, like over 2 decades. And I'm a youth leader. And when you speak with our young people, particularly those in our communities, and we say our community, of Black African descent, right? It applies to everybody, but I'm very passionate about our community because I work very closely with us, and especially whether you are in the diaspora or back home, but especially in the diaspora, you see a difference in the way our young people, move, go about their lives, the opportunities that they allow themselves to access, right? And one of the key drivers, this book will help them. I'm really glad a lot of your ads talk about buildings and real estate because it's a very good analogy. I don't think any of us here will necessarily go and buy one of those buildings if and say, foundations not anyhow, right? And the goal is to again share these tips with everybody, but particularly the young people who are very dear to my heart. And for the older ones, even say when you cry, there is an opportunity to assess and see, say, tips IMA, which of them did I get right? Which of them I be fully. You can always go back and improve so that you can make progress in your life. And the inspiration behind it is really to make sure, say, or to share, right? These things that I've picked up both in life, my work with young people, and through my faith as well, make sure it's accessible to everybody, particularly the young people.
Me a very confident say and yintimi cover book ni nyina enwie enti no anase topic ya ye ka ho asem yintimi enka ho asem enwie yenya emra yebetimi asan edewa babiem na yasan eno atwetwe eho enkomo into details but I think say yebehwe overview na fi yahwe some of the key points are highlighted in your book. Now, a kwanya yensu yebefa so practically ye de bebo ye mbra ewo ya bra boimu ewo wiase ayewe. So in brief, talking about building on good foundations. Foundation ben sa and now say ye betimi see a bra boy edi so ebema ebesi ye.
Yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, and again, I'll latch on to all the real estate ads today because it's very, very, relevant. And he said, when we think about how buildings come about, right? You don't just use any materials at all to build, right? Especially if you want the building to last for a very long time. And then the other factor, and say, depending on where you are building, right? You also do your assessment if it's a place that, let's say, is prone to flooding, it's prone to, waterlogging. All of that influences the kind of materials that are used for the building. And see, the first thing, just like, whether you are thinking of buying or building or even the house you are living in, you really think about the fact that the building should be able to hold you and sustain you. And yes, you're not going to live in it, right? So one of the really key things when we talk about foundations is say, you have to assess yourself. You have to look at where you are. Right? And you cannot look at necessarily what other people are doing. Yes, you can learn from those, but those will be meaningless or those are not necessarily going to serve you well. You may end up putting a round peg in a square hole, for example. And see, the first and foremost thing, just like when you are planning to buy a house, move into a place, is really to look at yourself and look at where you are. Because and not na ebetre where things are going well, where you need to put in a bit more effort to improve the foundations that you, again, are trying to build your life on. I know, say, we have, a few people on this who are a bit older and they may think, say, oh, I've already grown up, there's no foundations for me to build on. But actually, I read quite wide, right? There's a concept called underpinning. Those of us in London, the Grenfell Towers fell and everything. Some of those buildings have to be reinforced. So no matter how old you are now, it's an assessment to say, where am I? Near me jina sono, sisiana me building my life on no. Is it suitable to hold me for today? Is it suitable to hold me for tomorrow? And as you ask, one of the key things there is your identity, right? You cannot really have any of these conversations without talking about your identity when you start looking at yourself. Who are you as a person? Baby, are we free? Experiences are wafim, even if you are two people from the same household, you may look at things completely differently, right? What experiences have shaped you up until this point? Those are the things that will enable you. That's one of the key things. So if you don't take anything away, the first thing and probably the most important thing is looking at yourself and saying, who am I? What is my identity? Because then that will determine the kind of things you need to put or add to your foundation to ensure, say, it's strong enough to hold you up, not just for today, not just say, woke up, school, but also what are your dreams? So, and all those things will come later. But number one is really looking at yourself, doing that self-assessment. one of the key things, particularly in our community, but more broadly as well, is we are sometimes very uncomfortable sitting with ourselves, self-assessment, sitting with ourselves quietly. And in this age of social media, we are always online looking at something. When do you sit with yourself and say, Mikra, who am I? What are the things that I need to address? What are the things that are going well that I need to hold on to and reinforce? And if I should call one thing out now, it's going to start with that self-awareness, that identity, and really doing that assessment. It's building on top of it, just like the way you start a foundation of a building, and then we go from there now.
Before I'll ask my next question, if I say Mimbusa, I know sir, it will be a very difficult one. Try. Me can say, oh yeah, a senior executive in the financial industry. And now yeah, Juma.
And see me, Juma, well, JP. You mentioned it in the beginning.
Obi. Oka JP ABA Obi named JP, no?
So it's one of the global investment banks globally, and they cut across again the entire industry. And I've always been in the industry. And I started my career out in New York with Goldman Sachs. Again, started as a grad. So I started as a grad, and I've worked my way through various roles. CCI, I work primarily in transformation. What that means is BBA assistant, and we'll come to that as well, right? We'll build the foundation now, but things change. We are in a different context, and there's a lot that goes on. Again, in the world, BBS is what that means. They say part of my role is within a group that transforms how we operate, and a key part of that, as we all know, technology, AI, is the space I work in. So I'm a portfolio manager looking after a bunch of different things within that space. Yes.
Ask you this question because sometimes, looking at where we are coming from, we don't dream or aim to sometimes get to a position like where you are today. Maybe looking at your skin color, oh, yen dear. In your journey to where you are today, at the end of wow, to encourage you for you to be where you are today.
Yeah. I think going back to the first answer I gave, and, as you said, obviously I'm a speaker, I work with young people, I'm a worship leader as well. My faith is a very big part. But going back to those elemental foundations, knowing who you are, right? And it's Black History Month, right? Where the theme is standing firm, right? In pride and in power. What that means is you know who you are confident of who you are, knowing, say, you are worthy. I think sometimes we don't really take time to reflect on these things, but they influence us subconsciously. Say, me Black Indiana, and I'm an immigrant. I should say that as well, right? Yeah, I'm an immigrant. I was an educational immigrant, went to school, and then joined the workforce. And we put all those tags on ourselves, and we tend to look at ourselves just through those windows. Because of the color of my skin, because of I'm an immigrant, all those things I cannot attain. But knowing who you are, number one, and knowing, say, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. God has put gifts in you for the world. So it's not about the world. It's not about the way other people see you. The way you see yourself influences the decisions you make more than the way other people see you. And I want to, challenge everybody and say, one of the key factors in where you are is how you see yourself. Even if it's hard now, you being able to step out and say, you know what? Because God has put you on this earth, and the Bible says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Even if you don't know anybody, right, who's done it in your circle now, if you put your mind to it, there is hard work. But then also a key part for me as well was just the upbringing I got, which again is also foundation. And if you are a parent here, or if you are a carer, or if you are a teacher, be very careful the words you speak to the young people around you. I know in our community, sometimes we tell the kids, oh, industry where they don't even try, don't even attempt. Because I had the opportunities in Niho, right? One of the key things my parents always raising us was, you are going to do better than us. That's the other thing. It's not a shame if your children do better than you, or if they go to places you've not been to. It's an honor. And so me growing up, the goal was, or the aspiration was, I'm going to do well enough to do better than my parents, right? And see, that's the other key thing that constantly encourages me, even when there is a challenge, that anchors me. And I've met a lot of older people, even today, as we speak, I meet a lot of people who seem to think, hey, you shouldn't be going where you're going, or you shouldn't be aspiring, or you shouldn't be saying some of the things. And I'm like, you are not my standard, right? As in your aspiration is not the level of my aspiration. The level of my aspiration is who God has made me to be, and the confidence that was instilled in me growing up to know, say, you can do whatever you set your mind to. It doesn't mean, say, if I say, I want to be, I don't know, a senior executive in finance, and then I'll become it. It requires certain steps. So you need to work hard. You need to have integrity. All those things come in play. But I think the seeds of knowing, say, whether you are Christian or not, God has created you. He's put something significant in all of us to contribute. And so the question is, are you aspiring to that, to the highest level? And then the word, surround yourself with people who have the same aspirations, or at least people who inspire you. And that will continually anchor you and encourage you in the lowest moment, right? Because those moments will come. And when I tell my story, I don't want people to get it twisted to say, oh, and I'll call, then you climb. No, it's not a straight road, but with perseverance and knowing, say, there is more to your life than just going and coming without having joy, without enjoying the life you have, without doing well. No, I'll say those are the key things for me.
There is more to your life. Afi and I are joining this evening. We are having a discussion with Mrs. Phyllis Kodi Asiama-Bekoe on the team building on a good foundations, discovering the pillars that support a well-lived life. We've talked a little bit about foundations. Mrs. Mami Embusa, during the time at Otro book, what are the core pillars you identify as essential to a well-lived life?
Okay, I will start, and this is not the Otro book now. This is not in order. Right? But I think one of the key things is, say, it's holistic. And that's why I think part of the sub-theme you chose for today has, a well-lived life, right? Pillars that support a well-lived life. Your life is not one-sided. It's not just work and not just school. It's made up of different pieces. And so as part of that self-assessment, you need to understand, say, your life is made up of different parts, right? Sometimes we ignore some aspect of our lives. I know, within our community, faith is a big thing. So we may spend a lot of time in church. But again, are you putting that same level of effort in your education, in your work, the diligence you take there, in your health? I always say, I need to do better going to the gym. That's one area that personally I know I need to address. But when you talk about, having a well-lived life, you need to look at the holistic nature of your life. Not just your faith, right? But also your health, your mental health, your finances, your relationship with people. And you need to do an assessment of all of those places. So when I talk about that core or the starting point being self-awareness and identity, it's not one-sided. It's not about, oh, how can I get to the top, of my profession? That's one aspect. But what about your relationship? What's your relationship with your friends? Do you even have friends, right? What's your relationship with, your family? How's your finances? Are you just, it comes, it goes, you don't like to think about money for whatever reason, right? Whether past experiences or because you think you don't have enough. All those things come together. So that's a very, very key piece. And I talk about relationships because community is so important. So community is another key one that I will hammer on, right? Because nobody is an island. Nobody was born by themselves without a community. You were born, through a male and a female, right? Coming together. And there is a reason, there is a design to that. And to that community element is so, so important. Say, it could be a small community. It doesn't have to be a lot of people, your family or some very close friends. But even within that community, going back to the question you asked me about, how did I get there? It has to be a healthy community, right? If you're in a community where they tell you, say, oh, hey, I had your koha. And hey, why are you going to try this? Don't even try. Oh, now, and sometimes, we may say it in a joking manner, but it's like a seed, right? That lodges at the back of your mind. If you're very close friends that you trust, you have an idea and they say, oh, where the anchor baby, that would discourage you. So who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you listening to, right? In that sense. So apart from that holistic element, community, and then the last one, I think we touch on a bit of the mindset and whether you think you can or you cannot, which was one of the key gifts I would say my parents gave to me and my siblings. But the other one I will call on or I will call out is the ongoing assessment, right? In our language, we call it sankofa, which means, you assess and say, hey, 10 years ago, I said in 5 years, these are my goals. Maybe I wouldn't do it. That's fine. What are the things I need to change, to change paths to be able to get there? There's a saying that there's many ways to kill a cat, right? So if whatever path you thought was going to get you there didn't get you there now, are you going to give up? Don't give up. Right? Rise up again. So that ongoing assessment, and so it's so important because sometimes you can say, oh, Missy, I've been trying this for 10 years and fire. And one day but we are not changing our approach. We are not changing anything. And that's a concept in building actually, which is called underpinnings. So we should say building a HR. Sometimes the way to go about it is not to bring down the whole building. They are able to use the scaffolding to hold it and put what is necessary under it so that they can give it the necessary strength to be able to move on. So again, apart from the self-awareness, look at every aspect of your life. Don't look the other way and pretend your finances are not bad. Or don't pretend, you never talk about the deep issues. You're always on the surface. You have some trauma. You have something that's disturbing you mental health-wise, but you don't want to talk about it. It will seep in at some point. And then again, ongoing assessment as well. That's like very key because I think even if you do well in the other areas and you don't do that, it can come back to bite you at some point.
It can come back to bite you at some point.
Yes.
We are still on pillars. Building on a good foundation. We are still talking about pillars. If the pillars are, for example, purpose, relationship, health, integrity. You in your book, you spoke something. You said something about integrity. I'll come to that. But if the pillars are, for example, purpose, relationship, health, integrity, growth, and community, which you also touch on community, how would you describe a life aligned with purpose to someone who feels stuck?
A life aligned to purpose. So I think when we talk about purpose, sometimes we think it's this one thing, right? That you have to run towards, like there is no looking left or right. But sometimes for some people, and it's probably a small percentage, they know from a very young age what their purpose is, right? Even as Christians, sometimes you think, I'm pretty sure quite a number of people on here are Christians. They think, oh, I need this pastor to touch me to tell me my purpose. Or I need God to come from heaven and drop down from heaven, right? And tell you what it is. But actually, somebody said that your purpose is what happens to other people when you do what you do. What that means is purpose is not something you go and pick from a shelf. God already put some innate abilities in you. So when people talk about purpose, I always say, like God said to Moses, what's in your hand today? That's where purpose starts. What do you have in your hand today? What Moses had in his hand was what? A stick when God called him. And see, this is not about, and that's why you cannot do this. You cannot build on a good foundation. You cannot run towards that well-lived life without that self-assessment. Knowing, say, what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths, right? And you start from there. And whatever is in your hands, the Bible says that excellence will bring you before kings. It doesn't say excellence in one area. If yours is hospitality, do it with all your heart. And as you do it, whatever is in your hands, that purpose will ultimately reveal itself. I always say, the Bible also talks about when the blind men came to Jesus and he healed them. The Bible says he mixed up mud. The first time, they saw men like trees. It wasn't clear enough. Sometimes purpose is like that. It's not revealed in one go. And see, as you do the things that are in your hands today, and you try and be diligent with them, and you listen to yourself. So that self-awareness is not just your background, but also listen to your gut, right? As Christians, we don't talk. Your Obeka say, your senses, Obeka say, now me feel say, Anna, I love this, I love that. All those are not random. I'm a believer that God created us. If God created our flesh, our blood, our emotions, all those things serve a purpose. And see, if you love something, if you are good at something, start from there. And as you pay attention and you do that self-assessment, over time, it will become clearer and clearer and clearer to you as you go. You may not know it upfront, but even if you know it upfront, it will lead back to those things. What's in your hands? What's your passion? Right? And as you do them and you hone them, it will lead you to those things. Your purpose is never, ever going to be removed from something God has already put in you.
I think this should be SS to us. Oh, wow. Okay. So, as Ghanaians living obi maiso yawo yemba wa ha yetiti yemma ewa ha. This question I want to ask for mame for ni yen yaba betina ha yen yemma wa ha. What daily practice help keep purpose at the center of decision making? Daily practice that help to keep purpose at the center of our decision making.
Purpose for your life or purpose for your kids?
Nina.
Okay. So, I mean, I'll probably focus on the daily practice, right? Because sometimes, again, we have this big dream and we just think of the big things, right? It's really the daily small habits, as you say, that make a huge difference. And, for me, one of the things about purpose is I'm a seed planter. What that means is ube planti seed nene, ebia and grow in it. 10 years time, 20 years time, right? And when you are planting a seed, especially with kids that we raise outside of our native land, you may think, say, oh, I hear people say that a lot. Hey, akolane dia, I don't believe that. Because nyame be na usum no, nyame no oye nyame wo, the context, that you are coming from. Nyame no onye nyame wo ha. Now that's one. There are different and contextual factors, like I know in London there's like gangs and all of that, so that's not to discount that, but those daily everyday practices matter. And see, I have kids as well, right, who are one teen, one preteen. And see, definitely having a structure. And a lot of us parents, we work. I work full-time, my husband, their dad works full-time, so you have to structure is one of the things. Kids, and I do a bit of psychology on the side. Kids and human beings, we need structure. And see, whatever you train them with, just like going back to the building analogy, we'll mix it cement, soft, right? But when you pour it, it sets. That's the way it is. Whatever practices you bring up the kids with, that's what they know to be normal. And see, daily practices, again, because I work, I have a very hectic schedule. The kids had a schedule from a very young age, I think nursery or whatever, but it wasn't anything complicated. Obviously, you come back from nursery, there's like reading time. I love to read. So we read a lot, right? And don't underestimate reading with your kids at all, right? Secondly, again, praying. Even no matter how rushed we are, it doesn't have to be a 15-minute prayer. But before we head out of the house, we say a prayer together, even if standing. And that thing, again, growing up, my mom did that with us all the time. My dad traveled quite a bit, but my mom did that with us growing up in Ghana. So that's the other thing. It anchors you. And for me, or in our home, one of the key things that has been a big blessing to us is, again, you come back from work, everybody's tired. We don't do TV on the weekdays. No TV, right? There was a time... our remote, nobody knew where the remote was, and we were fine. It wasn't a big deal because we don't do TV in our homes. So you start, again, talking about foundations, you start very small. We don't do TV, but Friday night is a big night in our home because we have movie night, and that's, I think, my favorite day of the week, right? Where we sit down, we get to chat. And then the last but not the least thing I'm going to say is make quality time with the children. Have conversation. Somebody put it in a very beautiful way a while ago, which is you need to the conversations you want to have with them when they are 15, 16, you need to start that now. Because if you've never sat down to have a conversation with them meaningfully about their day, about their challenges, hearing their thoughts, sometimes you don't need to agree with them. They just need to know, say, it's a safe space. My kids can roast me, as they say, right? Laugh at me, we have banter. And you teach them boundaries about respect. But if you do that with them from a very young age, as they grow with it. Those bonds, cement, you know, and you see all these kids, you know, on the street, gangs. You're like, what will lead to a kid carrying a knife? Or you see some of these secondary school kids, especially the girls, the skirts are so. I'm like, how do you get out of your house with this? How is this acceptable from your house? Like, I don't have a girl, but I see them and I think about it, right? So talking about those little things and yet big things, those little practices go a long way because it teaches them stability. It teaches them, say, put faith at the center. It teaches them, you give them chores, right? It doesn't have to be a big thing. Me, I don't pay for chores. Those who pay for chores, I don't pay for chores. Right? You're doing the chores because we all live in the city. It doesn't have to be a big thing. So talking about little practices we can do with our, daily practices in our homes. These are the things, and some of these, you know, my parents did with us in terms of having conversations, right? But the conversation piece, that's where you build your relationship with your child, because then they can come to you. My kids know, you know, even if you do the worst thing, yeah, obviously there may be consequences, but we still need to talk about it, right? There's the space to talk about it and say, I'm here to listen. You know, it wasn't the right and I'll be cross, but let's talk through it. And then we talk about what could you have done better, right? If there's consequence, you know, sometimes you be forgiven, sometimes you get a consequence. But let's not underestimate like those little, I love the fact that you said little daily practices. It doesn't have to be anything big and it doesn't have to be a lot of time. Like 10 minutes, 20 minutes is like drops of water make a mighty ocean. And it's a small seed, but it will grow over the course of time.
A small seed which will grow over the course of time. And our joining and we are talking about building a good foundation and also discovering the pillars that support a well-lived life with our honorable speaker, Mrs. Phyllis. My name is Mrs. Ninkan, no be any mistake. Mrs. Phyllis Kodi Asiama-Bekoe. Yo, Mrs. In your book, what's your book? Book ni title Don't Start From Scratch. Foundations, non-negotiables for building and living a full and integrated life. Eno eneni yeneno etwetwe enkomo enumre. Mema ankofo nso ho kwan na omo questions are omo abusa. But before that, I have few one or two questions we amebusa na fe mama ankofo nso kwan na omo nso abusa question. In one of the chapters in your book, you spoke and you wrote about integrity. Talk to us about integrity.
I think that's one of those words I kind of say, oh, you know, you have to be honest at work, honest here, but fundamentally, and I write that out in the book, like integrity is just being honest with yourself, right? Do you have enough integrity to be able to know what you believe and stand by it? It includes your values. And he said, we are Christiania, you know, or whatever faith you belong to now. What are those values? And are you able to stand by those regardless of what happens? That's the way we normally think about integrity. And that's absolutely valid. I guess I try and dig in a bit more and talk about that integrity with yourself. And that links back to that self-awareness, because you cannot. And let me say this, right? From my observation, sometimes within our community, or, you know, I've observed from within our community, sometimes we are somebody else when we go to church or to our places of faith and within our community, and we are somebody completely different when we go to our places of work, right? The question is, why that difference? Yes, you got to show up in a different way professionally, yes. But beyond that, are you being honest with yourself? If Ebia, let me use an example, you think say, hey, I can never speak up, and Ebia, we should say if you have an opinion, you know, either it will be shut down, it wouldn't go anywhere, you don't want to be seen. The question is, why is that? Right? And comparing that to the fact, say, going back to the question you asked about, you know, daily practices and children, say, you have this big God. How is that integrous? Right? How is that integrity? Say, are you being honest with yourself? We've gotten used to living in this dual existence of I have faith in God, but when we get into certain spaces, you know, that faith sort of is silenced completely. And now one of my favorites, we are always on time to work, but we are late to church or to all the other places we need to show up to, right? How does that, you know, sit with you? And see, when we talk about integrity, most of the time we stand back and we, again, assess from an external perspective, and that's valid. But going down to foundations, no, are you being honest with yourself as an individual? That is integrity. Once you are being honest with yourself, no, then when you walk around, no, you don't have any discomfort, so to speak, because you've already done the judgments internally already, and you're already putting in the effort to put things right. And see, the way you show up, no, it shows up in confidence. It shows up in the way you do your things. It shows up in, again, how you self-correct. If you cannot sit down and say, you know what, this is not the life I really want, you are not being integrous. That's not integrity. Integrity, no, and yes, another person is involved, right? So hopefully, from everything I've said, no, when you leave this place today, yes, integrity is about how other people see you, but actually, are you integrous when you look at yourself? Are you honest with yourself? That's the definition I give. Integrity is being honest with yourself when nobody else is watching.
Integrity is being honest with yourself when nobody else watching. Medase, ma mbusa 1 or 2 being encounter afi be floor no na amanfo nso embusa omo edie. What role does failure plays in strengthening foundations?
That's a very, very important one. So failure is really part of the journey, right? I think if we think, say, no matter how no matter how smart you are, no matter how much faith you have, no matter how hard you work now, failure is bound to come in one shape or another, right? And what failure does for us, they say, it reminds us that we are human, right? If you've never failed now, you know, I tell people sometimes, you know, and they laugh, I'm a recovering perfectionist, right? There was a point in my life when I was much younger, you know, always A+ students, you get everything right. So I got into this space where you wanted to, if you didn't get 100% or more than that to get like excellent distinction or whatever, then you failed, right? And there were times where I didn't hit that mark. And what that teaches you, it humbles you because we are human beings. So failure allows you to realize that you are a human being. Failure teaches you compassion. Because again, we talked about community. You have to realize everything that goes wrong, sometimes you have no control over it. And that's why in some examples, you may forgive your kid for something they do. It may be the same thing. One time you may forgive them, one time you wouldn't forgive them because you just realize you know what? There is that element of humanity. And then failure also gives you resilience. Resilience being able to pick up yourself and move forward again, because guess what? You are going to fail in life. So failure teaches you how to do this life without falling down and feeling like that's the end of your life. It gives you that resilience as you go. So again, life, regardless, I'm sitting here, I've had, you know, quite a few failures in my life as well. It's not all rosy, like, you know, our host painted it to be or like it looks like, but that failure teaches you, again, that humanity, that having compassion for other people. It teaches you resilience, and it teaches you also how to learn and then pick yourself back up and then build on that again.
Yo, abusiafo ahanomo ena me medi ebesie me dane me ho me fankrato baako me ba me ma nso ho kwan na wo question bia onso watimi abusa yen guest ansana ye jai no amanako enti menko ba bia ye basisia
okay, Sikamania.
Producer, no sound, please.
So me send you in a minute in Sabakandia, and then one Taptap Send.
Yeah, Ebushanfo, Amanfo, Bidin did an Akuma Pachlewa 1. They recommended Taptap Send Amamo. And that's our father, also for baby. Diabasa, our rating so yeah. Omo ye A1 into piano do Taptap Send. That all says you can for Taptap. Piao.
Yɛbɔ de wɔkyerɛ amansan yɛbɔ de wɔkyerɛ Ghana for say yɛwɔ akwantu ne adi sika kɔfie nie me yɛn fɛmfa baabi a yɛbɛnu yɛn ho Taptap Send Taptap edemu fuwa Taptap Send in Bisasu
Taptap and one in a
Taptap the one echo.
Yo, abusuafo sabre won so wo bre wo question bi ebusa ene anwumre nkomotwetwen aye twetwen a onso betimi de wo question de aba yen guess no waye crowd se obeyi ne nyina ano de amount so wo zoom no so na o ma onsa so zoom no so a mefa na o de question aba se wo YouTube, Facebook enso a ehonso no betimi the question no ato comment section hono na mama ho kwan na ma read ni nyina enso de amount na mama mbusa se anye bia Mrs. Phyllis Asiama-Bekoe me pa cheo se obi epe bookie ebi ato a enfa enobenya bi ato.
So the website to go to is don'tstartfromscratch.com. All the details you need about me, about the book are there. It's also on Amazon as well. NT. Regardless of where you are in the world, you are able to order from there, both ebook and paperback.
Yo. Abusuafo sabri won so bre obetimi de wo question aba na wayi ano de amount topic na ye di ho enkomo ene anwumre no building on good foundations building on good foundations enye edan a ye si nemum wankasa minumienu ya brabo eno eho asem ena ye twetwe eho enkomo ene ano anwumre was a building on good foundations, discovering the pillars that support a well-lived life. Discovering pillars that support a well-lived life. And inti question be obetimi ede aba or topic aye kan wansami. Oye life coaching so intino and also or any general question be when it comes to lifestyle, any life coaching wansama or the bar and also no ubeya no ediama. Yenko zoom no so na yemfa Joanna. Joan, Pacho, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you so much, Authority. Thank you so much, Mrs. Phyllis. Pacho, when you're talking about the foundation, I'm looking at finances. If you've made the wrong decisions into your finances have been really bad, how do you start again? Especially when you are now of age, because like they said, life starts like the last. Somebody made a comment. The first time for you to start your life or do something is 20 years ago, but the next time to do anything is now. So what do you advise? Say if you've made the wrong decisions, how do you start something now? And you are still alive, so that at least you can. It wouldn't be that bad. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I completely get you. And again, it's the same principle of that assessment, right? So for example, I'm just using an example. If it's like, maybe you've made some choices, which means you are in debt. You make an assessment, right? And determine debt, right? You may not be able to clear it all today, but at least you have a view of what that is. And then the next step is a budget, right? And then from there, a strategy needs to be defined, right? Against that to say, would day-to-day living expenses, debt or whatever those other bad choices are up until this point, say. And then there is a strategy, and that's part of what I do in my coaching, right? Where we'll go through the details confidentially and say, okay, based on this, this is how we can help to say, on one hand, how can you start building a small fund bit by bit, whilst you also try and address whatever mess it is has been created over time. It's not going to be an overnight thing. I know people who say, oh, maybe I've messed up previously, but then they put their head under a stone and forget that debt no. What that's a tornado. Now it will get rid of everything. So number one really is that assessment I talked about, that self-assessment to say, baby, I know I made some, poor choices, maybe my fault, through fault of others, whatever it is. But this is my current state. That's what you start from. And then based on that current state, there is a plan to say, okay, maybe a debt and a mess, and I'm 40, I'm 50. I've not been able to put anything away. Right? Where do I start? And this is whatever I need to deal with. So what's the plan? It may require some sacrifices, but at least you know where you are starting from. And then once you define what that strategy is, like I said again, it's ongoing assessment, ongoing review to say, now mean to me for £100 in total, but maybe £10. And that's more than enough. You start from somewhere. Those little drops over time, nobody will say chip away. Bit by bit. So in a nutshell, that's what I'll say. But then you need to, do that detailed assessment, with someone around that.
Okay. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Yo. Ebedasi, Obinsu Ebusa we ewahase. What small, repeatable habits do you recommend for a long-term well-being?
I think that's, for me, that's relatively easy. What I was saying is find one thing, right? So again, I don't think that's something that we do a lot in our community, which is leisure. What brings you joy? Even I started crying, stressful because there's so many activities, right? But you should find that one thing that brings you joy. And it doesn't have to be, that one thing you enjoy. It doesn't have to be an hour. For me, it's reading. Reading is one of the key things. And as you can see behind me, there is green, right? If I just go and walk or just sit in the park 10, 15 minutes and make sure it's part of your schedule. That is so important. You may think that it's nothing, but it will make such a big difference. If I read for 15 minutes, it gives me a boost. It relaxes, not just the relaxation, but I enjoy it. So psychologically, there's chemicals in our brain, and that's the wonderful thing about God. If you do the things that you enjoy now, it releases very positive chemicals in your brain. You can't feel them when they are happening, but it boosts your mood. It boosts a lot of things, such that when you go to the next difficult thing, it's less difficult to some extent. So the one thing I'll say is determine what is the one thing that you enjoy or that you like to do. If you don't know what that is, try different things so you figure it out, right? And then even if it's just 10 minutes a day, or 15 minutes a day, or every 2 days, make sure you are making time for that thing. Because that thing is a bit like water. It waters you, it feeds you such that you get the energy to do other things, right? And yeah, it may not sound like much, but again, walking in nature does wonders for the human brain. So
wonderful. I can see you there, Stephanie. A very good evening to you, Steph. Right. I have another question here. How do you measure? Okay, my Mefa Bright we are not my kind. Another one from online. Bright, Mbacho, go ahead and ask your question.
No, that's it. That was when you mommy. Now, but my question is say, a person me bisa, madam say, after say, what build a solid foundation now, or church after say what build there, maybe you might want to set up maybe 10, 20 to 30 years goal for yourself. And on the process in this saying, how do you set those goals for yourself? Maybe a better achievable, and how can you break it down to maybe into smaller goals so that be able to achieve those goals for yourself? After so I build a solid foundation, But my question.
Amazing. I think this guy is in my house. In seeing me write that next book. But that's a great question, right? Like, I think he touched on some of the key points himself, which is maybe I was 30, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but actually 20 and 30 years are way, 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 way ahead. And so you then have to break it down year by year, right? To say, okay, 7%, maybe, I don't know, 100,000 or whatever, right? Over 30 years now. How do I break that down per year? How much do I need to save per year, right? And then when you take that now, maybe I will say every year I have to save 10,000. Now I shall finances, right? And figure out what are the pieces that will help me achieve that smaller goal, right? Once you define that, then comes the hard work. I'm glad we talked about failure. The fact that you set a goal doesn't mean it's going to be a straight path to it. If you go to a certain door, it doesn't work out, you try different things. So you ultimately figure out, what works towards that goal. And see, like you said, no, set that, long-term goal, 20-year goal, 30-year goal. And then you break that down to say, within the 5 years, this is the first building block. And then the next 5 years, I add this next building block to it. But we are not 10 years into the future yet. So for the 5 years, what am I going to do? Year 1, year 2, year 3. Even this book that I wrote, and I'll give you a very practical example, right? There's a lot of things I like to do, I want to do, right? Writing this book was one of the big ones. And there's another big one. And as, like you just said, this writing book didn't happen, this year. It took years for me to do that. And so I whittled it down to those two. And I said 2024 into 2025. Those two things, I have to pick one, because if I assess my time, if I assess all the things on my plate, there is no way I can do the two big things to the excellent level together. So I had to pick one, right? And I picked the book. So then that's where all the extra energy, extra sacrifice went. Now that that's done, time to reassess and say, what is the next one? And then you break down the steps. Writing the book, I'll use that as an example. There's so many pieces. I had to spend a lot of time reading, figure out what are the steps, who did I need to talk to, who are the freelancers I needed to reach out to, what's the process, copyright, emailing people. If I'm taking 2-word quotes from your book, I need to email you, all of those things. And as you rightly said, Mr. Bright, 30 years, break it down, 10 years, break the 10 year down, every year, break the year down into monthly. And then as you go month by month, you assess and say, I said I'll do this in 6 months. Okay, I've not achieved that. What do I need to change? I said I'm going to lose some weight to go back to my weight a few years ago. Yeah, I'm not yet there yet. And this is a personal example. So I'm trying different things, okay, to get there. And so that's exactly the way it works, right? I've tried the whole keto thing. I'm like, I'm not good with diets, so I need to try different things.
Right. A helpful cat keys, Asiama-Bekoe. She's trying different things. She'll get there. Okay. Mbacha obi busa se mahinfa ena obenya book ni bi ato na obese o contact also for personal coaching and so obede na contact.
Yes, and to Pacho, so call websites now. I think I pinged it. All the contact information is there. Just drop me a note. All the details are there. There's links to my social media. So whichever means works for you, As soon as you hit that link, it's called don'tstartfromscratch.com, right? There's a contact page there. You are able to get in touch with me, and then I will come back to you as soon as possible.
All right. Talking about setting goals, long-term, short-term, Obinsu Busa, how do you measure progress without getting discouraged?
Wow, that's a good one. So I think in measuring progress, you have to celebrate the small wins, right? Because again, we talked, I'll relate this back to purpose. Say purpose, we think, oh my God, my purpose is to be on a stage, or whatever, big dream. Until you hit that big dream, that discouragement is there. And to what certain targets, I'll use this weight business. Yeah, because we want to lose 10 kg or whatever, right? Those who I know people who've lost, like I read recently, will be saying, hey, I've lost 20 kg. Hey, you say, sure, that's amazing. But you just lost 1 kg or 2 kg. Celebrate those small wins, because those make a difference. And then going back to the whole self-assessment thing, ask yourself, where do you need to make, some adjustments, right? And go at your own pace. Sometimes I think we set targets based on other people, right? You don't know their circumstance. You don't know how they manage what they manage to enable them do what they are able to do. And to set the target, but celebrate. That's why the assessment matters. In the assessment, if it's 0 to 10, then the question is, what are you doing? Have you not done anything at all? But there will definitely be some wins in there. Encourage yourself. Say, you know what? If I've been able to do 0.5 over 10, maybe if I push a bit more, I'll get to 1. I may not get there in 6 months like I hoped, but if I keep pushing, I'll be able to get there, right? Eventually. So yes, celebrate the big wins and don't focus on just one area, like I said, right? So professionally, you may not be where you want, but do you have like beautiful relationships, right? Bring all of that into the mix because it balances out. And that matters. I tell all the young people I mentor, especially when they start their career, that your career at this point in your life is probably the most important. Put your all, like, work hard, but have a life outside of work. Because there are days that work may not go well, right? Things may go badly at work. But on those days, the other things will hold you up because they will balance each other out. So yes, set a goal. If one goal is not going great and you cannot even find anything at all, to celebrate, look at the other areas of your life. That's why that holistic, integrated life matters. Because it's not just one thing, right? You have life. Even if everything is not going well and you are breathing, that is a blessing because some people are in the hospital. So find the small things to celebrate and to encourage you, and then find people, you trust that will hold you accountable, but then also encourage you along the way as well, I think.
All right. You spoke about mindset.
Yes.
What is the most important mindset shift you want our audience to experience?
Wow. I think when it comes to mindset, I think one of the most important things I'll say is mindset is not fixed, right? Mindsets can evolve. And so if and that in itself is a mindset. Having the mindset that things are not fixed, right? Like, your mindset can evolve over time. You can learn new things, even if you've done the wrong thing or you made the wrong decisions for 50 years. There is always hope, right? And that element of hope is so critical because once you lose hope and you think no matter what, then you even lose the motivation for anything else. So mindsets are not fixed. That's probably the most important thing to know about mindset, that it can evolve and you can change your mindset, right? And that mindset shift, it will come with practice. It's not going to be overnight. The fact that you believe, say, I can do it, doesn't mean, say, every day you wake up, you feel that way. You have to keep reminding yourself and reinforcing it till it becomes second nature. So yes, mindset can evolve no matter how old you are. Mindset can evolve. And that's why the Bible says we are transformed by the renewing of our minds, isn't it? It's an ongoing process. Yeah, I think that'll probably be top, or one of the top, if not the top.
top notch. All right. I will come back to transformation, but say ene enyumre obi efi programming obi awotie programming or fi hanomo akwa one pillar ben and I would say on fanko to change their lifestyle, and I say I would say their lifestyle. One pillar.
Wow. To change their lifestyle. It relates to mindset, right? Which is you were made, or God made us to have a good life and enjoy life, right? So for me, that if you move around with that positive mindset, it gives you hope. And it also encourages you in whatever goals you set and inspires you to set even more positive goals for yourself, right? So I think it's a mindset thing, knowing that there is hope and you were made to really enjoy life. I always say from a faith perspective, say, the Bible says God has come, Jesus has come that we have life and have it abundantly. That abundance is not just for when we get to heaven. You are meant to have a well-lived life here as well before you get to heaven. So if you, from a transformation perspective, if you live your life from that perspective every day, look at everything in your life. If you are struggling in any way, then the question is, what do you need to do to start taking those steps towards that well-lived life? Does it mean you need to go get help? Does it mean you just need to continue doing what you're already doing to help you get there? But hope that we are made to have a good life here, even before we get to heaven, right? I don't want to be a matter of having a... I shouldn't say that, right? Maybe I'll come back one day and say, God has said I should go in. But yeah, I believe God has called all of us to have a well-lived, a good, excellent life. So that hope should inspire you in your life, no matter where you are on this journey, to want and strive and work for more.
For still me 2 minutes be a meet me a day amount say also or any question I hope say ubusa ewo ene enkomotwetwe a ye ubetimi e de question aba ansana ye the show no aba awie enche bia within the next 7 minutes no ye this section eba awie na fe ora A class atenemu e the Taptap Send focus section no e the abrain anything Michelle say or any question bia Michelle ubetimi ama onsa so e wo zoom no so na ode aba or eye Facebook YouTube nso a ubetimi the question at the comment section on mo na makenkan ni nyina e the amount yo Mrs. Obi Enzo Ebusa say opese o invite for you to come and speak to their church organization any adenso kwan ben and obefaso.
But also so if you go to the website, there's a form, and like he said, no, I do speak, I do preach low key, I teach young people. So again, yes, I'm more than happy. Like I said, I'm very passionate. This for me is a seed planting agenda, right? Seed planting mandate. And see, yeah, I'm not expecting fruit overnight, but if I can come and plant this little seed within your church community or your group or your organization, whatever it is, it doesn't have necessarily to be church. Yes, please use a contact form on the site. It will come straight to me, and then I will get back to you.
But if you can share the link or chat room on ABM, that will take people to the site. We will be very grateful. It will take me to my next question and my last question after this section about area. Obi Ebusa, any guidance for handling conflicts while staying through to foundations?
Conflict. Yes. So I think the thing with conflict is sometimes we assume, say, yeah, it's always from that person. But sometimes what's causing the conflict is actually from us. So again, I will always come back to that self-assessment, right? Sometimes just taking a few minutes to just breathe on it, think about it, will let you take a completely different approach. And in the days of technology, maybe you want to say something really mean, you can say, ChatGPT, how can I say this in a gentler way, right? I think words have a lot of power, especially when we are interacting with people. We can say words that are very fiery, like, intense in the moment. Maybe 10 minutes later, you can say the same thing with much less toxicity in it, right? So for me, when it comes to conflict, one of the most important principles is always step away, right? Go and think about it. Even if it's a conversation, it could be with your boss, it could be even with the kids, right? Sometimes they're like, I can't deal with you right now. I just go. I'll come talk to you later, right? Because in the moment, the way you will handle the conflicts may be, very, very not positive, right? And then the second thing is that if you're a person of faith, please definitely pray and listen to your gut a lot. And this is what I'm very passionate about this point, because we think if we are people of faith or because we pray, you can't listen to your gut. God has created, if your insights, I don't know how to explain, your gut, your insights, your emotions react to certain things because of a certain reason. And if you are a person of faith and you are submitting your will to God, sometimes God will use the way you feel in the depth of your belly to give you a signal, maybe not the answer, right? And he may even show you how to approach the situation, how to deal with the person. Sometimes it may mean saying nothing, right? And I've had situations like that where it's like, you know what? I can respond to this, but after taking a few minutes, you realize and praying and think you're like, I'm not even going to respond. And the thing will ultimately resolve itself. Or sometimes it's there and you just don't touch it. Sometimes you need to confront it. But it all comes down to stepping away, not reacting in the moment, praying, where necessary, seek counsel as well, right? So there's different levels of conflict. But those would be my immediate kind of, I guess, steps around that. Just pause, take a deep breath. If it's your boss or somebody, say, you know what, can I come back to you? Just walk away, take a walk, you know, and then make decisions, right? With a clear mind. I do a lot of writing. I journal a lot. So for me, one of the ways I process these things is just writing. And after writing, it takes the thing out of my mind and then it gives me time to actually process it over a period of time, right? So yes, stepping away, creating that distance is always a powerful way. And then praying if you're a person of faith. And then, speaking gently and taking counsel if needed. Okay.
Taking counsel if needed. Dr. Michael Ofosu Ampedu, was a great presentation. Yo, Doc, that's it. My main family last question.
Oh, did somebody ask a question? I think somebody said, how do you handle Anna? I think there was a question before Doc's question. Measure.
Let me scroll.
Oh, dude. Yeah, there was a question before that, but I want to give a big shout out because it's just clicking. Dr. Michael Ofosu Ampedu is my childhood friend of over 30 years, and he's dialing in. Big shout out to him, bro, for joining from Canada.
Oh, wow.
If you who saw on my profile, the singing group I posted, he's one of those people. So thank you for joining, my very dear brother. And then I also want to give, whilst you're on shout out, before I answer the question, I also want to give a big shout out. Obviously, I've shouted out my parents already. The catechist. I got a lot of comments about that. He's the only catechist, in case you don't know. And my boys. But then I also want to call out Elder Minla Arthur, who's been a very, very big support to me over the years, also for over 30 years. So a lot of the people I have in my life, talking about community, I have a really, really strong community that I can lean on, who encourage me, who challenge me as well. So thank you. It's good I read that because you said doctor. I didn't even click. I'm like, Dr. Ofosu Ampedu. Okay, that's him.
Okay, Yanko King question hello. Please, how do you handle children when they make noise? I don't want to give them my phone when they are is it shouting? When they are or crying? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good one because especially in this country, I know a lot of people use phones for babysitting. And I see it a lot, I'm very kind of, I guess, sensitive to that. I just, knowing the environment we are in. But initially it will be hard, right? Absolutely hard. But you need to win them off. The reason why they keep crying and shouting is because their brains, that's their default for their brains. By default, their brain is soothed by just that because maybe you've done it for a while. But if you take that away from them, and especially kids are very resilient. So over time, you replace it with something else. It could be reading, it could be toys, there's other things. Initially, it will be difficult, right? For me, especially when the kids, they were younger, you just leave them to it. It may disturb you for a bit. Maybe today they will cry for 1 hour. Tomorrow it will come down to 45 minutes and then over time. And so that's about the persistence. You have to remember that this is not about the now for your peace of mind. It's about the many years of their lives, right? So I can take my kids' phone for the whole weekend. They are preteens, but I'm like, no phones this weekend. And we survive, So yes, when it comes to kids, you have to commit. I think that's the word. It's hard. It's a hard journey. But once you commit to that, like the cement, over time, it will become easier and easier over time. But if you get tired and say, oh, dear Jay, then you get back to ground zero and you have to start all over again. So yes, just be persistent. That's the hard work of parenting.
Yeah. All right. I mean, for my last question, Hanamonafi, Yababeji, take away Ayedibekofi and a day. As a career woman, a mother, a wife, and all that, life coach, all that you can think of. How should people adjust their foundations during life transition?
Oh, that's a really good one. And that's like, I can't say this enough, right? You assessing and determining where you are in life. One of the analogies that has remained with me growing up, which nobody actually taught me, life is like you climb, and then it's like a plateau. Plateau meaning things stabilize before you start climbing again, or sometimes you fall back and whatever, right? But you need to know the season you are in and then adjust accordingly. So people always tell me, oh my God, you do so many things. And that is true. I do so many things. But at every stage, I've had to make decisions around what to prioritize. And that's about the foundation. So when my kids were much younger, in my industry, networking is a big deal, right? Before I had kids, I would go for almost all the networking events. That very stage. And even now, right? I will go, but I'm not going to go every day of the week or every week. I'll probably go once a month or twice a month. And the rest, I'm going to say no, because I need to protect. I still have 24 hours. So you need to be conscious of where you are in life. If you are studying is also to God's glory. Or if you are working, you need to work excellently, right? So what does that mean for your time? How do you adjust your schedule to suit that? So for me, a lot of the reason why I'm able to fit stuff in is there's a priority list, and, my faith, home, the kids, the things I'm passionate about. If some is left over, and, friends and family, right? I cannot say yes to everything. And so you need to sacrifice certain things. And it means, I was going to say my social life is not, but actually I have a pretty decent social life. It may not look like your social life, like going to the club every weekend, but I have a pretty decent social life. So again, that's why that assessment is so important. I'm at a stage in my life where my younger one just started secondary school. So it's a completely different stage. People ask me all the time, it means you have more time. No, my dear, you don't have more time. They have different needs. So the fact that they are in secondary school doesn't mean now I can stay awake. I still need to be present and be able to know what's going on and have conversations with them. So whilst I don't need to do nursery run, after school care and all of that, I need to readjust. So for me, it's a transition, but still trying to readjust. The foundations are there. How do I readjust, right? My previous approach. Now I have a book out. I'm on here doing this now. I've been thinking a lot. What are the things I need to adjust to accommodate this new season? So at every point in life, every stage in life, you do need to do that self-assessment and figure out, what do I need? Maybe in 6 months, it may change. But if you are not doing that self-assessment, the Bible says you are pouring new wine into old wineskins. And it's not working. And you think it's not working because you don't have the opportunities, but it's not working because you're trying to apply some old formulas to something. It's a new season. The new season requires something new, right? I'm doing a new thing, the Lord says, right? Do you not see it? But you want to live like it's 2023 and do everything like the situation you were in 2023. So that whole dynamic of being aware of what season you are in and adjusting accordingly, right? And it may be trial and error, but being aware is that first step. And then saying, you know what, this season requires something else from me. What do I need to do to actually adjust that as well? So yeah, that's what I'll say. And it's not just for transit, like it's all of life. People will tell you, right? It's all of life.
Yo, me that say obi essay or joining and chair na opese utie presentation ni nyina obeden ko eye YouTube OT Media TV ubenya ni nyina ahwe wo sa enso na Facebook nso Taptap Send Ghana yen page honom so and also no we are streaming live there and also no ubenya ewo honom na obusa se book no obeden eno onye biato pacho se ubetimi esisu biem amaye ekwan ankofo ubetimi afaso no omenya book ni bi ato na finally we want to take something home tonight. So what is the most important mindset shift you want readers of your book and viewers of this show, you want them to take home?
Do you know what? Like, I'm just gonna defer to, and we didn't get around to talking about that. But actually, I'm not a very probably shouldn't say, but when it comes to, I have a lot of content. You know, I need people with skills in packaging. The title of the book, and that's what got me to finally put it together into a book, was quiet. It just came to me. And so that's what I'll tell you, which is don't start from scratch. What that means is whatever it is you want to do, somebody has gone ahead of you somehow. There are examples all around us, right? So look around at what has worked, try things out. Like, you know, like you said, there's stuff in this book, but just go to Google. If you're a Christian, look for religious, there is stuff out there. So don't feel like you are the only person in the world who is going to do these things. The foundations that we are talking about, they are enduring foundations. And so there is always something out there that you can latch onto so that you don't feel like you are alone and it's just you trying to figure this thing out. There's foundations out. So don't start from scratch. Leverage the resources available, no matter how old you are, but especially for the young people. And if you have children as well, you shouldn't let them start from scratch and figure it out by themselves, right? There is resources out there. So that's the thing I'll say, which is the title of the book. Don't start from scratch, right? Like there is information and foundations that have been proven that you can start with, and then as you self-assess, you can evolve and adapt to them as you go.
Your final word.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing I want to say is each person on this call or whoever is listening to me, right? You are unique. You have something very special in you for the world, not even just for your community, for your family, for the world. And so have hope. Right? And just know that whatever is in you is an amazing thing. You just need to, just like a seed, you just need to water it, right? Till it grows and it starts bearing fruit. So I want you to take away hope and the fact that you got something in you. You just need to build those right foundations and adjust what may not have gone right. And you will see fruit in your life. Okay. So I hope everybody goes away encouraged. That you have something in you, in your life for this world, and you are meant to enjoy it as well. So,
Mrs. Phyllis Kodi Asiama-Bekoe, everdas bebre ene enyumre for your time oni ababe share your book. Me jidi say yentimi ankova ni nyina, we will bring you back. We will talk about more about the holistic, talk about community, Sankofa and underpinnings, all that we need to know about this book. Don't start from scratch. Foundations, non-negotiables for building a living, for building living a full and negotiable life. Non-negotiable life. Nyami inshira bebre se ene enyumre wenya emre na oni aba betwetwe sa ekomoyi nyame yadoma enche bia emre ema ohun kwan a ye besan edo ababiem na yatoa enkomotwetwe so nyame inshira pa.
So thank you for having me and God bless you.
God bless you. God bless you. Yo abuziafo ahanum ena ebrebe me ho kwan medeu ebesie sabra me no ka say die OA class so aye crowd or the Taptap Send focus section no air to aso e de amount ma memfa enkrato ba ku mienu entwam eno na chi no OA class will take over the show. Me da say producer Yanko for
So Christica Manian, put me do rap to so. So me send Yama in a minute in Sabacandria and then one Taptap Send.
Yeah, ebusiafo amanfo. Bidindi na nakuma kwachirewa 1. They recommended Taptap Send amamo. And that's how for aba. O send ko fa baby a. Na ye basa. Omo rating so ye. Omo ye A1. Nti obia load do Taptap Send. Na on say sika for Taptap. Piao.
Yɛbɔ ho dawuro kyerɛ amansan yɛbɔ ho dawuro kyerɛ Ghanafoɔ sɛ yɛwɔ akwantuom ne yɛde sika kɔ fie deɛ mɛyɛ mfɛmfa baabi a yɛbɛnu yɛn ho Taptap Send Taptap adamu fua Taptap Send nisa so
Taptap deɛ ɛnoa na yɛn nyinaa ɛyi
Taptap deɛ ɛnoa na ɛkɔ.
Yo, abusiafo unya mede Mrs. Phyllis Asiama-Bekoe edino ebro yatwetwe enkomo ede efa building on a good foundation. Book bi a watro ena ene ye bo modia ede ne bae ene no atwetwe ho enkomo nyame ya adoma yentimi uncover all the topics no but emrebe mu a yebesan ede no abro ewo show